Hi, I'm Stephen Carr-Jones. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Triadex Services Group. Today we're going to talk about 4 steps to improving the ROI of your marketing campaigns, particularly your direct marketing campaigns. It turns out that we can all improve the return on investment of any marketing spend, particularly in the direct marketing world, by about 10 to 25%. How do you do that? Here's how you go about it. First things first, do you have a customer database? If you have a customer database, you can figure out what types of customers those are. You can what's called index them against existing customers around you. So, for example, maybe you have both younger and older family groups in your neighborhoods. Well, it turns out, most likely, that you will what's called over-index within some of those customer groups. How do you figure that out? You go get a count of the households in the neighborhood by Prism, Tapestry, Mosaic, or some other clustering list. It is simply a pre-selected group of 70 different groups that each household falls into in America. Well, it turns out that some of your customers will come from some of the 70 groups and some of them won't. So let's index them. Let's see how much of a percentage of your database is actually represented in those 70 groups versus the percentage that each of the 70 groups makes up around all of your stores. And that's step 1. You've just gone ahead and figured out what your customer makeup really looks like. Not an age, an income, and a distance, but who they actually are among the 70 or so cluster groups that exist out there. So now, step 1, I've already figured out somewhat who my customers are. What am I going to do with that data? Well, it turns out that your customers also spend at different levels. So what we have here is a situation where maybe, and I'm picking different names out of something called a Prism list, the upper crust and the kids and soccer moms groups spend more per visit in your stores than, say, the blue rinse hairdos and retired park bench seniors do. Okay, what do you do with that data? Well, it turns out you can actually choose to market just to the upper crust and to the kids and soccer moms as opposed to the park bench seniors. Suddenly, you've gone from spending your marketing dollars and expecting the same outcome from all of that to spending your marketing dollars on different segments and getting different outcomes for each segment. There's an outcome, but how did you figure that out? What you did was you tracked the outcome of your marketing. If you happen to be doing direct mail, you would literally put a different number on each mailer you sent so that when a person came back and redeemed an offer within your store, you collect that number. And there are a lot of different ways to do that easily through your POS, or you can go old school. Just literally keep that piece of the mailer from the customer. And then you match up that number against the mail file that you sent, and it tells you that, oh, this customer was a upper crust customer, and this one was a kids and soccer moms customer. And none of the ones you targeted were park bench seniors because you already figured out that they didn't spend as much in your brand or they weren't as present in your brand as other clusters were. So now you've gone from identifying who your customers are around you and which ones are choosing to come into your stores as opposed to you're trying to get them and they're not responding. Now you've made your marketing more efficient simply by not contacting people who are less likely to respond to your brand. You've also tracked what you sent out in whatever medium that is, direct mail or digital or anything else. And by tracking it, you can tell which customer segment group actually responded better on the back end of the campaign. There are 2 ways right there that can improve your return on investment on your campaigns. And again, nearly every marketing campaign that anybody does can be improved ROI-wise by 10 to 25%. What else can you do? You've already changed up who you're targeting, you've changed who you're reaching out to, and you're tracking individually by household or business who's responding. So you know within your lists who it is that you're going to go after. Maybe you had a list, if you're a restaurant, where you had tested Asian casual dining customers or propensity lists versus bar and grill. Great, it turned out the bar and grill did better. If it's in any media, you can change the look and feel of the messaging. In direct mail, maybe you go from doing paper mailers to plastic mailers, or you go from doing paper mailers to letters in an envelope. Or you go from doing letters in an envelope to folded, trifold, sealed self-mailers. All of those are viable. Which one works best for your brand, you can test your way to. And that is the third way to improve the ROI. Test aspects of what you're doing. Increase or decrease this list versus another. Change the offer that you make to an existing customer who maybe isn't coming in as frequently as you want, or is coming in frequently but not bringing enough friends to spend more with you, against the actual mailer you send out, or the size of the ad unit that you use in digital, or the channels that you go after in digital. Because guess what? Each customer type has different customer preferences, and they will have different media preferences. They won't necessarily all go to the same website, or to the same TV channel, or to the same Netflix channel or sub-channel of Disney Plus, etc. But you can test your way to all of this. And by doing that, you can incrementally improve the ROI of your marketing campaigns. What else can you do? You figured out who your customers were. You figured out what offers work. You figured out what media channels work. Have you thought about varying the actual people that you speak to? You could speak to them as employees at a business versus consumers at a household. What are your individual stores segmenting out as? Some stores are going to be more urban. They're going to have more apartments. They're going to have more townhomes. Some stores are going to be suburban. Okay, it's traditional suburbs, individual homes. Others are going to be in town and rural areas. So for each store, you can start varying how far you go out, what kind of customers you go after in each of those store types. There will be more upper crust households in suburban and second city locations than there will be in urban locations, for example. It's not a function of wealth, it's a function of the kind of home you can buy. So you can start varying your marketing, not just by whom you're reaching, but who is possible to reach around every store location that you have. Imagine a different set of customers that you go after for your town or rural locations versus your urban locations versus your second city locations. Finally, think about those businesses again. There are nearly always 500 to 2,000 businesses around every single store in any market in the United States. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but it can be that in an urban location, those 2,000 businesses are within half a mile, and within a town or rural, you can only get to 500 within 15 miles. So start looking at your individual stores with different trade area sizes in mind and how that impacts who you can reach.